Hello, good people of YouTube. Mountbatten here. And today we are going over my top 5 all-time favorite ships. These are 5 ships that were very, very hard to whittle down to just a list of 5. These are ships that I just, hop in if I'm having a bad day or if, I'm having just a bit of a funk with matchmaking, whatever. And usually these ships will be, good enough or fun enough to reverse my losing streak or the funk that I might be in. Speaking of funk, if I sound a little odd, I'm sick, but it's not COVID, it's not the flu. It's just misery, apparently. One of those just colds that won't go away, and now it just really sucks. Got to go get a shot and stuff, and now that's kicking in. So if I do sound a little off, that is why, but I thank you for bearing with me. But let's go ahead and get on into it. Coming in at number 5, we have the Tier 8 Premium American Destroyer, the Kid. The Kid is one of the first destroyers I played in this game. I had grinded up to a couple of Tier 10 lines by this point, but the Kid was a ship that, it's got a couple of things going for it from my point of view. First off, it's the ship that started this whole obsession with mid-20th century naval combat for me, because I visited the real-life Kid when I was in Boy Scouts, got to spend the night on her and all that jazz. That was a great experience, and that's what piqued my interest in Warships. I did a video on the Kid, the real-life Kid. Went and visited her a little while ago. It was very cool to see, these ships that we play in game in real life and how much larger and more impressive they are in real life than the pixels on the screen. So that's one thing going for her, for me at least. The other thing is that, she's just a freaking good destroyer. If you are, grounding up the American Destroyer line or whatever line in your past Tier 8 and you just want a ship that's just a good destroyer for beginners, the Kid is an excellent one. She's got heal, first off, which any destroyer having a heal below Tier 9 is that's just excellent, right? It helps you push through those engagements with the other destroyers, and it gives you that little bit more of confidence in taking some risky maneuvers. I typically play Kid as a cap contesting DD. I sit in the cap and try to just shoo the other destroyers away, and having a heal helps level the playing field when it comes to taking on higher tier destroyers or other gunboats at your same tier. Now, she does pay for that by having, only one rack of torpedo tubes, and they're the Benson torpedoes. So they're not the Fletcher torpedoes, so they're not quite as good, but they are still torpedoes. They do still hurt when you do manage to land hits on target. On top of that, too, Kid is one of the few destroyers, few ships, I should say, in this game that still has the ability to frighten CVs to just leave you alone for the entire match. Her AA is simply that good, and she gets DFA on top of that. Like, her base AA before you even use DFA is really, really strong, but then once you do pop DFAA, it's just absolutely, a plane blender at that point. And that is what she gave up one of her torpedo racks for. They took off one of her torpedoes, gave her a couple more Bofors, and now you got a ship that can make, most CVs just leave you alone. In most cases, right? These others really good CVs. They're just, god at dodging all the flak and all that jazz. But she's a really good DD, one that's really good at doing, anti-DD duties, and a ship that I just do truly love. Well worth the price if you're ever thinking about picking her up. Alright, going down to number 4, we have the Tier 9 American Cruiser, the Alaska. Now, the Alaska is a ship that's unfortunately not available for outright purchase anymore. She does come back during the Black Friday event. I would, of course, highly, highly recommend you guys pick her up. I always do every year when she is offered for sale. The Alaska is just great, right? It's not a battle cruiser, according to the Navy. The real-life ship was a large cruiser, despite fitting the the bill of a battle cruiser to a T, right? But you get some wonderful 305 millimeter guns, 310 millimeter guns on the Alaska with that lovely American Mark 8 super heavy AP that allows these 11-inch guns, 12-inch guns, whatever they are, to feel more like 14 or 15-inch guns where they do bite into the target. And she is, I wouldn't say she's super tanky, especially with all the super ships and submarines that we have nowadays, but she is definitely one of the stronger cruisers. If you look at her profile, she does sit quite low in the water, unlike something like the Aegir, the Siegfried, that kind of stand up out of the water with their freeboard. So she sits nice and low to where usually most of the damage you get coming in from your side, unless the enemy ship can aim properly, is usually just superstructure over pins, right? So she's pretty tanky in that regards too. And her armor is, of course, very tanky either way against the other cruisers. But on top of having that wonderful AP, you also have really strong HE. The Alaska is a ship that it doesn't really matter what you're facing. You can either, just pin the ever-living crap out of them with your AP, or if they go bow into you and try to angle, try to be cute like that, you can just hit the one key, and now you've got HE that is more than potent enough to deal with just about any threat. That's why it's not really a huge deal when the Alaska gets doubled up to your super ship games, because, okay, that's cool, you're in a Hanover, a Satsuma, some super ship that's got great armor, but you still burn, right? So you got both of that going for you right there when it comes to the munitions. She's also quite useful when it comes to her consumables. You get radar, hydro. That's a great combo there, especially in today's World of Warships when we have submarines that, you definitely need hydro to find them when they get a little sneaky and get too close to you, and when you're trying to dodge the torpedoes. That's definitely a big help there. And of course, radar is, well, it's radar, right? Great to be able to see those destroyers hiding in smoke or seeing what's around that corner before you push around it in your Alaska. So high degree of damage output, good degree of survivability, high degree of utility, and all around a great ship. I mean, there is definitely a reason why this ship was removed from sale. She was exceptionally popular back in the day, but thankfully she is part of the Black Friday event, and every year those ships do return, so you can pick her up at that time for discount too as well. It's just the black version, has a cool black camo, has a B behind the name. Other than that, exactly the same ship. Alright, going down now to number 2. We have the Tier 10 German battle cruiser, the Schlieffen. Of course, on my list, we're going to have a bunch of secondary ships, and the Schlieffen right now is one of hands down the best, if not the best, secondary ship in game. Now, Schlieffen is what I like to call a hyper brawler. Every single aspect of the Schlieffen is designed to simply brawl. Violence is a question, and the Schlieffen's answer is always yes to it, right? She has just a ton of secondary guns up and down her sides. They're a mixture of the 105 and 150 millimeter secondary guns, so the 105s, that is one of the downsides. They cannot pin 32 millimeters of armor base. You have to take IFHE, which does cut down on your fire chance. However, with just the sheer number of guns that the Schlieffen has and how fast you can get their reload time down to, it still sets plenty of fires in my experience. So it's definitely the build you want to go with. On top of that too, if you take the concealment module and the concealment skill, the Schlieffen's secondary range will essentially be her detection range. So once you see whatever is in your detection range, they're in your secondary range, and you know that if they get spotted, they're going to have a very, very bad day. The ship's great for dealing with DDs just through overwhelming volume of fire, right? On top of that as well, she is quite fast, getting up to 35 knots. She is also quite maneuverable. She has 4 sets of torpedo tubes that get knocked out if you sneeze them a little bit too hard, but that's par for the course as far as German ships go. Hydro as well, and again, just like with the Alaska, Hydro is great for having to deal with submarines and those torpedoes that they're throwing at you. Great for pushing into smoke so you know where the ships are at. Great for, again, just it's a great utility to have right now in today's World of Warships. Now, she does pay for this in some ways. First off, doesn't have the highest HP out of the Tier 10 ships. She really has like Tier 9 HP. And she doesn't have 32 millimeter armor. She's got 25 millimeter bound stern armor. She does have this nice wraparound icebreaker bow to where you can't, just punch straight through her schnoz to get to her. You have to aim at the upper part of it, but it's still not 32 millimeters of armor, right? So other battleships are going to be able to overmatch you, and the HE spammy ships, they're going to be able to just have their way with you. But again, with how fast, how great these ship secondaries are, you can really make a lot happen in the Schlieffens. With a few brawlers that don't really care too much what the matchmaking lineup is like, they can still typically make something happen, right? So that's the Schlieffen. And going down to number 2, we have the Tier 10 German battleship, the Grosser Kurfürst. Of course, my beloved GK. GK used to be a tech line ship back in the day, and she was removed and replaced from the German tech line by the Preußen. So she's a premium ship now for someone that really loves playing the GK. That's a pretty nice pickup, right? Getting a premium ship status, or I guess I should say reward ship status for one of your favorite ships, right? But man, GK she's one of those old school brawlers. I did a video on her not that long ago that when it happens, right? When all the stars line up, you're going to have a freaking great game when you're able to get up into your secondary range when the enemy team maybe, the submarine didn't go to your flank and the Seaweed's not paying attention to your side of the map, so you get kind of free reign to, sneak up and push up into your secondary range by using island cover. And when it happens, it's just such a great experience. You have 12 16-inch guns, either the 406mm guns or the 420mm guns, with hydro secondaries that can pin 32mm of armor, because they're the 128mm secondary guns with the German HE pins, which means that, pretty much every ship you see at higher tier, you're going to be able to pin essentially most of their ship's hull and superstructure, which means good, consistent damage. Now, she's also quite large and quite tanky. She has 105,000 HP and change. She got great armor for when it does come time to brawl. You're not really going to be able to citadel this thing at close range, but at longer ranges, yeah, you're going to get chunked quite a bit. Now, unlike the unlike the Schlieffen, I should say, she's not super stealthy, she's not super fast. I mean, you can go 32 knots, which is pretty fast, right? But not 35 knots like the Schlieffen. You can't really get her secondaries in her detection range to get too close to each other like you can with the Schlieffen, so unfortunately, yeah, the enemy team tends to see you coming from literally miles away, and with, again, submarines and CVs and all that going on now in today's world of warships, she's unfortunately not quite as effective, shall we say, as she once was. But however, again, when you get those matches where the stars align, or if you're playing like tier 10 ranked or something, she's a really solid choice for that. And a ship that I just have so many battles in. I think right now it's like 2,000 or 3,000 battles in GK, if not a little bit more than that. She's my second most played ship behind the Yami, and man, it's just fun when this ship is able to perform and do well, like you saw in yesterday's replay. But yep, that's my number 2. So my number 1, some of you longtime viewers should know this. It is the tier 8 premium American battleship, the Massachusetts. The Massachusetts, man, this ship is great. It is a tragedy that she did get pulled from the shop, but thankfully, again, like the Alaska, you can pick her up during the Black Friday event at a discounted price. She just has a black camo and a B behind her name, but she is very much a great ship. She is an Alabama, which is a South Dakota class, with a shift in her playstyle, more from mid-range battleshipy to close-range brawler battleshipy, with her improved accuracy, improved reload time on her 25-inch secondary guns. And someone took a hammer to the barrels of her main battery guns to where she's a little bit less accurate than the, she's not a little, she's a lot less accurate than the Alabama, but again, that doesn't matter when you are pushing up and getting into fist fights with the Massachusetts. They also gave her an improved cooldown time on her damage con and the improved American battleship heal, with an improved cooldown time on that as well, to where you can just brute force your way through engagements with that damage con and that heal if you do balance it out. And this is a ship that really doesn't care too much if it's in a higher tier game or a lower tier game, which she does care about right now, though, which they gave her a slight buff to it. Well, they're giving a slight buff to her ASW range here in the next update, but it's still quite pathetic. I think right now it's like 5 kilometers, and it's getting buffed, I think, to like 6 or 7 kilometers in 13.1, or they might not be buffing it at all, because they put out a statement saying some of the ASW changes were wrong. So who knows? We'll find out on Wednesday, right? But yeah, that is a way they retroactively tried to nerf her and balance her by giving her a terrible ASW. But I mean, the ship is still pretty maneuverable. If you are paying attention, you can still usually dodge the attacks, and if not, again, you've got an improved American battleship heal there that can help you push you through those torpedo attacks and such. So this is a ship that, again, in most cases doesn't really care what tier it's in. You got 16-inch American guns with that Mark 8 super heavy AP, great secondaries that can get out to 11.3 kilometers that absolutely melt destroyers and light cruisers, and have a good enough fire chance to where when you do run into other battleships, they will burn them down. Decent AA as well in the Massachusetts. And a ship that, if I just want to have a good game, I take her out, hope I get two brothers, go down the middle, have a lot of fun. Especially, man, if you get some buddies with the Massachusetts, you get a triple Massachusetts division going on, it's going to make some magic happen, right? But again, unfortunately not available right now, but you can pick her up during the Black Friday event, and once again, I do highly suggest you do that. Alright guys, so that's it for today's video. If you enjoyed, make sure to drop a like, leave a comment, subscribe to the channel. We're way to 75,000 subscribers, and I can't thank you guys enough for that. Hope you guys have a great Monday, great rest of your week. Hope to catch you guys in the next one.